When a huge killer whale washed ashore on a New Zealand beach, dozens of people surrounded the creature. What happened next left everyone on the beach speechless, as they witnessed something that none of them expected to see in their lives. The sun had barely risen over Marlborough Beach in New Zealand when locals saw an alarming sight. There, sprawled on the sand, was a huge killer whale, its black and white body glistening in the morning sun. The seriousness of the situation became immediately apparent. Now this killer whale was helpless on land. The rumors spread quickly through the small coastal community, and people realized that they needed to act quickly. As the cries for help rang out, more and more onlookers gathered on the beach. A mixture of concern and disbelief could be read on their faces. Interestingly, this was not the first case of killer whale sightings in recent days. Just yesterday, beachgoers were thrilled to see a flock of killer whales hunting near the shore. They were not small animals. Each killer whale was as long as a school bus. The group moved smoothly, like a well-trained team of swimmers. Some dived deep, while others stayed near the surface. They probably hunted for fish by swimming to shore. People stopped to watch them. The children pointed at the water as the killer whales demonstrated their swimming skills. The killer whales stayed near the shore for several hours, and when the sun set, they swam back to deeper water. The beachgoers went home, thinking they had seen something special. No one could have imagined that the next day, one of these killer whales would be fighting for survival on the beach. The local community quickly became attached to the beached killer whale and named her Lucy. It wasn't just a marine animal. Killer whales are one of the most intelligent animals on Earth. Their brains are large and complex, like dolphins and chimpanzees. They can solve problems and remember information for years to come. Killer whales are such good hunters that scientists call them sea wolves. They work in groups to forage for food and share their techniques with younger packmates. They are known to create waves that knock seals off icy streams and even throw themselves ashore on purpose to catch prey, but only in places where they know they can slip back into the depths. So, how did such an intelligent animal end up stranded? The answer probably lies in the difficult coastal waters. When killer whales hunt, they fully focus on their prey. Lucy may have chased the fish into shallow water, unaware of how fast the water level was dropping. The changing tides could trap her, pushing her further ashore. Even with all their intelligence, killer whales cannot read tidal charts or predict how sandbanks are shifting under the influence of waves. However, the question of how was more relevant than what now. Can Lucy be saved? This huge animal was created to swim in deep ocean waters, and it got stuck on land. In the ocean, killer whales are one of the most powerful animals on Earth. They can swim faster than Olympic champions and dive deeper than submarines. But Lucy couldn't use any of these abilities on the beach. As the morning approached, the killer whale's situation worsened. The sun rose higher, illuminating the whale's skin. Killer whales have dark skin that absorbs heat quickly. This is not a problem in the ocean because the water keeps them cool, but on the beach it meant that the killer whales were getting hotter. More and more people came to the beach. Everyone who came asked the same question: how can we help? People knew they had to act fast. They developed a plan to keep the killer whale alive until they figure out how to bring it back to the ocean. Some people ran to their houses and returned with buckets. They filled these buckets with seawater and poured it over the killer whale's body. This helped for two reasons. The killer whale's skin remained moist and cool, which reminded her that she was in the ocean. Other people brought large sheets and towels. They soaked them in seawater and covered the killer whale's body with them. Over time, the killer whale's condition worsened. Killer whales have smooth, supple skin that needs to stay moist. The killer whale's skin was drying out, despite the fact that people were constantly pouring water on it. The killer whale's breathing has also changed. At first, she breathed evenly, but over time her breaths became more frequent and shallow. It seemed that she had to make more efforts to get air. Her eyes have also changed. Killer whales have large, expressive eyes that seem almost human. When the killer whale was first pulled ashore, its eyes were alert and it looked around at people. But now they began to look dim and scattered. She seemed too tired to notice what was going on around her. Seeing that the killer whale was getting worse, everyone began to work even harder. Those who came to the beach just to watch have now joined them to help. Some grabbed buckets and joined the queue of people bringing water from the ocean. Others helped to hold the wet sheets to protect them from the sun. The children also helped. Some of them went to nearby shops and brought water bottles to the volunteers. Others helped arrange grocery deliveries, making sure everything was easy to find if needed. The rescuers knew they needed a better plan. They couldn't endlessly pour water on the killer whale. She needed to get back to the ocean, and as soon as possible. But how could they move something so heavy? An adult killer whale can weigh up to 6 tons, about the same as a large elephant or a large truck. No matter how hard people tried, they couldn't get the killer whale back into the water on their own. It seemed like their original plan was going to work. A local fishing boat offered to help tow Lucy back to sea. The idea was simple. Attach the ropes to the boat, carefully wrap them around Lucy, and drag her to a deeper place. The captain of the boat was ready, and the ropes were in place. However, nature had other plans when they tried to carry out this plan. The sea was not calm that day. The waves continued to crash against the shore, knocking the boat back every time it tried to get close enough. The captain of the boat tried 3 different approaches, but the waves forced him to retreat each time. If the boat got too close to shore, it could also get stuck on the sand, leading to 2 problems instead of 1. Another problem was the ropes. Lucy's skin, usually protected by water, was sensitive. The ropes could cut into her like a tight rubber band into a finger. Even if they had managed to position the boat correctly, the tug-of-war could have caused serious damage. No one wanted to take that risk. After the boat plan failed, the team moved on to the second idea. Someone suggested digging a channel in the sand that looked like a small river leading from Lucy to the ocean. The plan made sense. Lay a path along which water could flow and help Lucy stay afloat. 20 people grabbed shovels and started digging, but the sand wouldn't budge. As soon as they started digging, the walls of the canal collapsed, filling it back up. It was like trying to dig a hole on the beach by the water. The sand continued to slide back into the pit. They were trying to expand the channel, but the same thing was happening. Even in those areas where they managed to keep the canal open, they faced a more serious problem. The water flow wasn't strong enough to help Lucy get out. Both rescue attempts failed, but these failures taught the team something important. They couldn't fight nature. They needed to work with her. This realization forced the team to develop a final plan: to wait for the tide. That was the most sensible thing to do. The water would help lift Lucy's weight when the tide would naturally start. In the meantime, they could keep her skin moist and cool. Once the water was deep enough, Lucy was able to use her powers to swim. This plan was safer and worked for the benefit of nature, not against it. However, time was running out. The longer Lucy stayed on land, the more dangerous it became for her. But there was another serious concern. Killer whales live in families called packs and never leave each other. Packs are like a very close-knit family that stays together for life. Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, and even grandparents, they all swim, hunt, and protect each other together. They even have their own special sounds with which they talk to each other, as if in their secret language. Lucy's family was probably swimming somewhere nearby in deeper water, waiting and calling for her. Killer whales get very upset when they can't be with their pack. The rescuers saw how worried Lucy was. Sometimes she made noises, probably trying to call her family back. That's why everyone was working so fast. They knew that Lucy needed to get back to her capsule as soon as possible. Some experts of the rescue team also knew that if they could bring Lucy back to the depths, her capsule would help her. Killer whales have been known to support sick or injured family members by swimming closer to them and even pushing them to the surface so they can breathe if they need help. But first, they had to pick up Lucy from the beach. If their plan doesn't work out, Lucy may never see her family again. However, as the hours dragged on, it became clear that Kit had given up. When she tried to recover, her movements became more frequent. Her breathing became ragged. The crowd watched in agonized silence, many wiping away their tears. It seemed that despite their best efforts, they would witness a tragedy. Then, as the tide began to rise, the first waves reached Lucy's tail. Suddenly, she felt movement. Her tail twitched. This little sign told everyone about it. Lucy didn't give up. She was saving her strength, waiting for the water to return. The rescuers saw their chance. As more and more water began to flow around Lucy, they began to gently rock her body. This movement helped the water flow under her and showed her which direction the deeper water was in. Killer whales sensed the movement of the water, and Lucy could determine in which direction they would return to the ocean. At first, it seemed that nothing was changing. The team continued to rock. Then Lucy began to react slowly. She started moving with the current, using her tail to determine the best path. She didn't struggle or panic. She worked with rescuers, using the tide to help lift her body. Such careful coordination between Lucy and the rescue team showed why killer whales are called one of the smartest animals in the ocean. Most wild animals panic if a person tries to touch them, but not Lucy. She seemed to know that all those people on the beach were trying to save her life. When the rescuers gently pushed her aside, she moved in that direction. When they led her to deeper water, she tried to follow their example, as if she could understand what they wanted from her. The volunteers, who were now waist-deep in the surf, were pushing and pulling at her, trying to get her free. To swim. It was grueling and dangerous work. One wrong move could lead to injuries from the whale's powerful fins, but no one wanted to give up. Finally, after a few hours, Lucy reached a depth where she could swim freely. There was a moment of tense silence as everyone waited to see what would happen next. The whale swam for a while, seemingly undecided. Then, with a powerful flick of her tail, she rushed forward. The crowd burst into cheers and applause. Many hugged each other with joy and relief, but the killer whale did not cease to amaze them. Instead of immediately swimming into the sea, she turned back, approaching the shore where the volunteers were standing. For a moment, some people's hearts stopped beating, and they were afraid that she might hit herself again, but she stopped abruptly, her dorsal fin cutting through the water as she swam parallel to the beach. While everyone was watching, she did something amazing. She emerged from the water with her whole body spinning in the air. This movement, called breaking through, is used by killer whales to communicate with each other. Lucy's leap wasn't just for show. She told her rescuers and pod that she was fine. When killer whales dive into the water, they use their powerful tail to completely stick out of the water. The fact that Lucy did this after she washed ashore showed how much strength she had regained. With each jump, water sprayed out in all directions, as if from a giant cannonball in a pool. The crowd gasped and cheered every jump. Lucy broke the barrier 3 times. Every jump was like celebrating a victory. Killer whales are known to be one of the few animals that celebrate and play simply because they are happy. They are one of the few animals besides humans who teach their cubs to play. Lucy was showing everyone a great example of the joy of killer whales. After her jumps, Lucy swam to deeper water. Her move showed everyone that it wasn't just luck. She knew exactly where she was going. Killer whales have an internal compass that helps them navigate the ocean. They can memorize routes and locations for years to come, passing this knowledge on to their pack. When Lucy swam further, people could see her high dorsal fin cutting through the water. The dorsal fin can be as tall as an adult, and it differs slightly from each killer whale, like a fingerprint. The crowd watched her until she was out of sight, knowing that she was returning to her family. As the adrenaline from the rescue subsided, the reality of what they had achieved began to dawn on them. Strangers hugged, laughed, and cried together. They joined together in a community and saved lives despite incredible difficulties. In the following days, the story of the killer whale rescue spread far beyond the shores of Marlborough Beach. This became the main topic of national and then international news. Marine biologists who studied the incident were amazed by the whale's apparent understanding and cooperation during the rescue operation. The story of this killer whale, from the terrible situation on a New Zealand beach to the triumphant return to the ocean, shows what unusual things can happen when people come together to help an animal in need. It's a reminder that sometimes the most incredible moments in life are the ones we never expected. What do you think about this amazing rescue? Have you ever witnessed or participated in an animal rescue? Share your thoughts and impressions in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, turn on notifications, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss even more incredible animal stories.